fans. An important name from the roster may be just days away from being cut, and another, who has been with the team for years, could end up being traded to a conference rival. The decisions are coming from above, quietly, with a focus on a restructuring that could cause a rift in the locker room. Behind the scenes indicate that two solid veterans are under threat, while a fan favorite may end up leaving without any ceremony. Welcome! Show your support for the Browns by reaching 100 likes on today's video. The name making waves behind the scenes in Cleveland is Jordan Hicks. The veteran linebacker, who joined the Browns with experience and a respectable resume, may be the next target for unexpected cuts this offseason, which has already begun with the surprising release of Ogbogo Okoronkwo. The move, according to local analysts, is part of a quiet restructuring of the defense, and at 33 years old, Hicks no longer seems to fit into the youth project currently underway with the team. Hicks had decent numbers in 2024, 78 tackles and 2 sacks in 12 games. But this performance represents a clear drop compared to the linebacker's history, as he had 5 consecutive seasons surpassing the 100 tackle mark. The break in that streak, combined with his age and injury history, puts the veteran in a vulnerable position within the roster. The fact is that the front office appears willing to make room for younger, cheaper names, such as Nathaniel Watson, a 6th-round pick in the last draft. This possible release, while painful, makes sense from a financial and long-term planning perspective. With the salary cap putting pressure on roster construction, the Browns know they cannot afford to keep veterans with declining productivity, especially when they have promising options on the bench. The example of Okoronkwo, a name considered safe, already signals that no one is untouchable. Another name mentioned behind the scenes is defensive tackle Shelby Harris, who will turn 34 in August. Harris has been an important piece in the defensive rotation, but the arrival of reinforcements like Mike Hall Jr. and the selection of promising Mason Graham with the 5th overall pick in the draft makes his retention a difficult luxury to justify. With a defense increasingly focused on aggression and youth, Harris may also be counting his days in Cleveland. The trend is clear. The Browns are betting on a defensive overhaul, prioritizing mobility, intensity, and durability. This move is similar to what franchises like the New York Jets and Seattle Seahawks have done in recent years, making room for young talent and reshaping the defensive DNA. This could even cause some impact in the locker room in the short term, but it demonstrates a bolder plan from the front office. The decision to cut Hicks and Harris may also be strategic to create space on the roster and in the cap for potential impactful trades before the start of the season. With the front office more aggressive than it appears, it would not be surprising if the Browns are preparing to add impactful pieces via trade or to reinforce areas with greater needs. Another relevant point is the playing style that the new defensive coordinator wants to implement. Keeping veterans like Hicks and Harris may hinder the evolution of the system, especially if the tactical plan requires speed and adaptability to multiple formations. Young players like Graham and Watson not only offer renewed physicality, but are also moldable to the current philosophy. The fan base, in turn, seems divided. Many recognize the importance of Hicks and Harris as locker room leaders, but understand that the project needs to move forward. The most cited argument on social media is clear: better to cut a year early than a year too late. And at this point, the Browns front office seems aligned with the sentiment of a significant portion of the fan base. It remains to be seen if this boldness will yield results on the field. If the plan is to give minutes to promising young players, the risk of mistakes increases, but so does the possibility of revealing new protagonists. And in the current NFL landscape, those who don't renew fall behind. Cleveland seems to have learned this lesson from its recent frustrating seasons. In the end, cutting Hicks and Harris may seem radical, but it could also be the type of decision that transforms a static defense into a fast, aggressive, and lethal unit. And the Browns, now more than ever, need a defense that defines games, not just one that goes through the motions. And the offense? Well, get ready. The next segment brings a potential trade that could break the hearts of the fans. The name that has resurfaced strongly in trade talks is David Njoku. The Browns' tight end, one of the most recognized and loved players in the franchise, may be very close to leaving Cleveland for an unexpected destination, the Miami Dolphins. And the movement makes sense. The Dolphins opened a spot after sending Jonnu Smith to Pittsburgh and are looking for a reliable target for Tua Tagovailoa. Njoku fits that profile perfectly, at least on paper. At 29 years old, Njoku is entering the last year of his contract and is already feeling the shadow of Harold Fannin Jr., a draft pick that has been catching attention in practices. The question, therefore, is harsh. Is it worth betting on a veteran with ups and downs, or accelerating the development of a new offensive piece that arrives with hype? The front office has not made a final decision, but the possibility of a trade is increasingly being discussed behind the scenes. The problem with keeping Njoku is his inconsistent history. Since being drafted in the first round in 2017, the tight end has had only 4 seasons with more than 500 receiving yards. The highlight came in 2023, with 81 receptions, 882 yards, and 6 touchdowns, a performance that earned him a Pro Bowl nomination. But the following season was a cold shower. Reduced production, injury issues, and a clear drop in chemistry with the quarterbacks. The central question is this: even with undeniable talent, has Njoku delivered consistency? The most honest answer is no. The potential has always existed, but there have been few moments when he has lived up to the expectations of a dominant TE. And with the Browns facing salary cap limitations and seeking to reposition the roster around young talent, keeping Njoku could end up being a strategic mistake. The Miami destination makes technical sense. The Dolphins' offensive system requires tight ends who can block as well as create separation in the passing game. Njoku is athletic, versatile, and could benefit from a more vertical attack, something Cleveland has struggled to offer since the instability in offensive leadership and at the quarterback position. In South Beach, he could revive his career, and the Browns could shed a heavy contract. But not everyone sees this positively. Mac Blank, an analyst from Dog Pound Daily, warned that a trade would be a mistake, reminding that Njoku is productive when healthy and with a significant volume of play. And it's true. Few tight ends in the league can offer the same balance of physical strength, explosiveness, and wingspan. What weighs against him is the inconsistency. If the front office is really willing to entertain offers, it would be ideal to do so now, during training camp, when the market value is still reasonable. Waiting until the trade deadline could be risky, especially if Njoku gets injured or continues to underperform. Furthermore, if the Browns start the season poorly, the player's value plummets and the chance to get good compensation disappears. The Njoku situation is emblematic because it represents the crossroads the team faces: to insist on aging pieces hoping for one last flash of talent, or to change the axis of the roster now before it's too late. And with the arrival of Fannin Jr., the message is clear. Renewal is not only defensive, the offense is also undergoing transformation. For the fans, the pain of a possible departure is real. Njoku has charisma, is involved with the local community, and has always been vocal in support of the franchise. Losing a player like this hurts. But the NFL is a business, and the Browns know this better than anyone. Final opinion. The Browns are betting on surgical cuts and potential trades to build a younger, cheaper, and more dynamic roster. The departure of names like Hicks, Harris, or even Njoku may be unpopular, but it represents a bold stance in the face of recent stagnation. The team needs to break away from old cycles and invest in pieces that have not yet reached their technical ceiling. And you, Browns fan, would you prefer to see Njoku traded now, or do you believe there's still a chance to get a great season out of him? Would cutting Hicks be a tragedy or a cold, necessary decision? Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more hot updates straight from Cleveland.